Near the end of April 1968, one of the most fiercely fought but little-known battles of the Vietnam War pitted Marines of Battalion Landing Team 24, the Magnificent Bastards, against the North Vietnamese 320th Division. It took place on a piece of terrain approximately 1.5 miles northeast of headquarters of the 3rd Marine Division, which was located at the Dong Ha Combat Base. The engagement is known both as the Battle of Dai Do, for the principal village where the fighting occurred, and the Battle of Dong Ha, for the principal target of the NVA forces. The fighting extended over a 3-day period. This is the only engagement of the entire Vietnam conflict where a single reinforced battalion-sized Marine unit with less than 1,000 effective fighting men, which was supported by intense naval gunfire, fought head-to-head with a division-sized unit of between 6,000 to 10,000 regular NVA soldiers who were augmented with 600 guerrillas and who were supported by artillery from the demilitarized zone. The Dong Ha Combat Base was of strategic importance to the entire Marine Corps effort in the Northern I Corps because essentially all of the logistic support for the units in the area came from this base. Destruction of the ammunition, fuel, and supplies that were stored in Dong Ha would have severely limited the tactical activity of all of the Marine units defending along the demilitarized zone. Enemy control of Dai Do area would have prevented resupply activity using naval vessels on the Qua Viet and Bo Do rivers, which accounted for more than 90% of the materials and supplies that were transported to Dong Ha. Lieutenant Colonel William Weiss, Bill, was the commander of Magnificent Bastards during this battle. Bill had assumed command of the 2nd Battalion, 4th Marine Regiment in October of 1967. In December of that year, the Magnificent Bastards were assigned as the ground component of Special Landing Force Alpha, which along with a helicopter squadron and a combat service support component were embarked aboard amphibious Ready Group Alpha's ships off the coast of Vietnam. Once designated, the battalion was reinforced with various attached units of artillery, engineer, amphibious vehicles, reconnaissance, tanks, ontos, and other combat and combat support units, and designated BLT-24, a task-organized unit capable of conducting amphibious operations. On 5 March 1968, the Magnificent Bastards were lifted by helicopter to Mai Sichan on the northern shore of the Qua Viet River. For almost 2 months prior to the Battle of Dai Do, the BLT was engaged in heavy contact with NVA units who attempted to travel down Jones Creek, a well-traveled infiltration route from the DMZ to various locations in the south. This combat activity made BLT-24 a battle-hardened, albeit somewhat depleted in numbers and physically exhausted, unit of Marines serving under an extraordinary leader who in his earlier days was referred to as Wild Bill Weiss. It seemed as if Bill Weiss had prepared himself during all of his adult life for the Battle of Dai Do. From the streets of South Philadelphia, where he spent his growing years and met his wife Ethel, to the hallowed halls of Temple University, he was a natural to become a leader of Marines. He saw combat action in Korea, went to the Army Ranger School, taught at the basic school in Quantico, was a rifle company commander and a battalion operations officer. He served in 2 of the Marine Corps' elite force reconnaissance companies. He was both jump and scuba qualified. He attended the Army's Command and Staff course and was selected for a tour as the Marine instructor for this course. Bill was in Korea when he decided to accept back-to-back unaccompanied tours so that he would have an opportunity to serve his country as battalion commander in Vietnam. The interlacing of command and teaching would be put to the supreme test at Dai Do. Keith Nolan, in his book about Dai Do, entitled The Magnificent Bastards, describes in detail the tactics used by Bill that led to his assignment as battalion commander of the Magnificent Bastards. Yes, Bill Weiss had systematically prepared himself for this opportunity to lead a battalion of Marines into combat against enemy forces. The larger the enemy force, the better Bill would like the odds.
I came walking in and I saw him in the planning just as they were finishing up. And he turned around and he slammed his fist into the table and he says, "We've got them. We know where they're at. We're not going to let them get away. And I don't care what it's going to take. We're going to get our outfit here and we're going after them. We're going after them now."
What Bill was not prepared for, however, was that he would be denied access to all of his BLT assets with which to fight the numerically stronger North Vietnamese division. When the battle was joined, Bill's maneuver units consisted of just 1 understrength company and 2 platoons of another company. Additionally, he had just 2 operational M48 tanks and the remnants of a platoon of amphibian tractors. Operational control of other BLT assets would be released to Bill Weiss on a piecemeal basis over the 3-day period of the intense fighting. This story is that of the Battle of Dai Do, from its beginning on 29 April 1968 until the afternoon of the 3rd day, when Bill Weiss was severely wounded and was evacuated from the battlefield. Bill Weiss, a retired Brigadier General of Marines, is the storyteller.
The Battle of Dai Do was a fierce, bloody, brutal struggle between the 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, an understrength unit, and the elite 320th North Vietnamese Army Division during 3 hot, humid days in April and May of 1968. The battle succeeded because we stopped the enemy from closing the river, we pushed him back, and prevented him from launching an assault on Dog Ha combat base. The thing that triggered the battle was the enemy firing on a landing craft utility boat that was ferrying supplies up the Qua Viet River, through the Bo Do River, over to the ramp at Dong Ha. This occurred at about 0400 on the 30th of April. And because the Division Reserve had previously been committed to other actions, and we were the nearest unit, we were tasked with the mission of clearing the portion of the bank where the fire came from and reopening the river, which had been closed to Navy traffic because of the attack on the LCU. My battalion was spread out in its tactical area of operations along the north bank of the Qua Viet River, not far from the South China Sea. When this battle started, one of my companies had been taken away and was under the operational control of the 3rd Marine Division on Highway 1. Another company could not be moved. That was Golf Company, which guarded the northern area of our TAOR up in Nha Ha, Lam Suan East. Nor could one of the platoons of Fox Company, which was located in the village of My Loc over to our right. So when things started to get hot, I actually had only 1 2/3 rifle companies to maneuver with. The nearest rifle company, Hotel, occupied the southwest portion of our TAOR, and it was spread out in a number of patrol bases. And it took a while for them to assemble in order to carry out their mission of taking and clearing An. Also, we had to move the boundary lines, which was then on a stream just to the left of Hotel Company, over to another stream further west, so that we could maneuver freely in that area without having to coordinate our supporting arms or maneuver with the ARV forces, which was usually difficult and bureaucratic and delayed. During this period of assembly and preparation for the clearing of An, I boarded a Monitor. It was an LCM-6, a World War II landing craft that had been specially configured for riverine operations in Vietnam. It was armored along the sides, and it was equipped with weapons that the LCM-6 normally didn't have, namely a breech-loaded 81 millimeter mortar and several machine guns. Also, the cockpit of that, from where the coxswain operated, was raised, and it enabled me to see the action in the area that we were operating in very clearly from the river, and gave me a degree of mobility that I wouldn't have if I was on the ground. So we moved into the area, and as Hotel Company moved to Bac Phang, a village which was just across the stream from Dong Nguyen, it came under heavy fire from Dong Nguyen and from the village of Dai Do. So in order to investigate and clear An, we first had to take the village of Dong Nguyen. And this was the mission that I assigned to Hotel Company, supported by the 2 platoons of Foxtrot Company mounted on Amtracs. Our small reconnaissance platoon, under command of First Lieutenant Bill Muter, and our 2 M48 tanks, formed a base of fire for Hotel Company from the hamlet of Bok Vong. Once he was organized, Captain Williams, the commanding officer of Hotel Company, found a crossing point which was well north of the village of Dongwan, which to cross the small stream, and then he had to move south across the open, overgrown rice paddies to get into an assault position against Dongwan. This he did with excellent use of smoke and Willie Peter fire to conceal his movement.
When we kicked off that assault, there was no stopping those Marines. They had fixed bayonets, they were firing from the hip, they were moving fast across that dry rice paddy, and when they hit that ville, just as the naval gunfire and the smoke lifted, the enemy was looking down the faces of bayonets and M16 muzzles, and I don't think they ever knew what hit them.
Also, once he started his movement, Foxtrot Company moved across the stream and put heavy fire into the Dai Do area to confuse the enemy as to the direction of our attack and exactly what was happening on our side. With this type of support and with this concealment, I watched Hotel Company move across without seeing one Marine stick his head up. They literally crawled that entire distance into the assault position, conducted their assault on order, and swept through the village of Dongwan. They had to fight their way inch by inch from fortified bunker to fortified bunker. Unfortunately, during this initial fighting, Captain Williams was seriously wounded and had to be medically evacuated. First Lieutenant Scotty Prescott, the executive officer, took over the company and continued the assault. Finally, they completed the assault and occupation and consolidation of Dongwan after about 3 hours of heavy fighting. Once I was sure that Hotel Company had a strong grip on Dongwan, I ordered Foxtrot Company to go forward and assault the village of Dai Do. However, the enemy positions in Dai Do were so strong and the fire was so fierce that the small force of 2 platoons from Foxtrot Company were unable to do that. They actually reached the edge of Dai Do, but could not push their way in. So we had Foxtrot Company at that point spread out over the open area east of Dai Do, Hotel Company consolidating at Dongwan, and no other resources readily available.